Hey guys, I am Min,
I'm Kai.
and welcome to second episode on Rebuilding You. Today we have a very dear friend of mine, if you realize, Dom. Okay, hi Dom. Okay, please
Hi.
introduce
Hi,
yourself
Dom.
a little bit.
Hi everyone, I'm Dom. I'm a friend of Jamin, and today we are here to talk about what makes a relationship last, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
and a disclaimer that all three of us aren't professionals. We aren't the people you should look for relationship advice. This is just a general.
We're not experts.
We're not experts. This is just a general discussion. So if you're looking for relationship advice, you're watching the wrong video. You can check out other videos on YouTube or listen to another podcast. So not this one. Yeah, but if you wanna, if you wanna laugh and have fun, this is the one for you. Yes.
Yeah, it's just a discussion on our personal thoughts.
Yep. Also, not forgetting the fact that we are doing this in our own homes during this entire COVID-19 situation. We hope that everyone's doing fine, and this is basically a discussion of us discussing about our views and our opinions on things, and helping each other, helping the people out there to live happier lives, because in the end, everyone just wants to be happy.
So, Dom wanted to talk about 三观, which is three perspectives. Some of you guys may know it, and some of you guys may not. I mean, I didn't know about it. So, Dom, please explain to us, what 三观 is.
Okay, so 三观 is basically like a way of how people look at things, relationships in general. It's a concept in the Chinese language. So basically, 三观 can be broken down into three things: your world perspective on how you view the world. And this is shaped by our parental upbringing, our social status in the society, and religion, and stuff like that. Life perspective would be more on our purpose of life. So, for example, if you're more family oriented but your partner is career oriented and doesn't really care much about family, then maybe you'll have some sort of friction there. And then there's also the value perspective. The value perspective is more on like how you value things, how something is considered worth it. For example, if you appreciate celebrating small wins, and small wins may be buying a scoop of ice cream even though you don't really need it, but then your partner doesn't look at it that way. Your partner thinks that it's a waste of money. If you don't need things, why should you get it? And that will also give rise to a certain amount of friction. And while we're at the topic of friction, in this episode later, we'll also be discussing how we should reduce friction. So in terms of the three perspectives, even though if your three perspectives, which is the worldview, your personal life views, and also your value perspectives, are not aligned, that doesn't mean your relationship will not work out. It just means that you'll require more effort and more patience to tolerate your partners, and to be able to self-reflect and know about your own core values, or values in the sense, would be very helpful in maintaining a relationship and making it last.
So basically, what you mean is if your 三观 is similar, it will contribute to making your relationship last longer.
To some certain extent, yes, because for me, a relationship requires effort from both parties. So when your 三观 are aligned, obviously there are less things to work on. Because if, let's say, you appreciate going to cafes on a weekly basis just to enjoy and get yourself out of that daily routine. But for me, I look at like going to cafes as a very wasteful thing. Like, why should I go to cafes when I can make things like this at home? Then obviously that would give rise to like that will give rise to fights and
additional friction.
Friction.
Okay, so what are you guys' own personal 三观, or like traits that you think would make a relationship last longer?
Jamie, would you like to start first?
Okay, so for me, what I look for in a partner is really just one thing: we must have the same priorities. For instance, I would say I am quite career oriented. So for me, career is really important. I really want to work hard and progress in my career. But also at the same time, I also value family and friends, my relationships. So both these things are really important to me. If it's really hard for me to choose which ones are more important. So I would really appreciate someone who works hard for both of these things together at the same time. So yeah, same priorities so that both of us can work on the same things and also achieve the same goals. I feel like if two people were to have the same goals, you guys would have a purpose to stay together. And when you want to achieve the same things, I think naturally you would have lesser conflict as well, because what you want is the same. You guys are trying to achieve the same thing. You're a team trying to get the same goal. You know, so yeah, same priority is really important to me. How about you, Dom?
Yeah. Okay, so for me, my main priority in life is always my family. So to me, money, yes, it's a priority, but it's not as important as family. So if I were to pick a significant other, or if I were to be in a relationship with someone, and if that person does not understand that everything in my family is basically my priority, and if like I impromptu, maybe even if we're on a date and just something happens to my family, I would definitely want to attend to my family first. And if my date fails to understand that, then I feel that that is a very no for me, because that is one of my main core values. And if you can't accept that, I'm sorry. We just not. I don't think we will be able to continue the relationship in a sense, and I don't think the relationship will be a happy and fulfilling one. Yeah. So what about you, Kai?
For me, I think, okay, since you guys already talked about family oriented and all, I'll touch on something else, which is I feel like communication is very, very important. Like, not just normal communication, but the willingness to be open and transparent with your partner. Like, share your thoughts with each other, and if there's anything that you don't like, or there's some kind of small issue, that you would talk it out with each other rather than bury it and then, you know, let it accumulate, and then one day something triggers it and then it all explodes. So I think openness and transparency, like to be able to talk about all these things with each other, is really important. And also another thing I would personally like is someone who is very self-aware and also with a growth mindset. For example, like you are reflective of yourself, of your own issues, or what kind of person you are, what you can tolerate, what you cannot, and all that, your values and everything. And while you're aware of that, you're also trying to grow to be a better person. And because that's what I do personally, so I would really like it if my partner can also do this, so that we can, you know, like work together to support each other and grow at the same time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And also what you said just now earlier about the accumulation of negative feelings. I feel that from my observations, couples, when they constantly fight over this single thing, this particular issue, it's gonna be also the reason why they will break up. Even though they fought over it maybe like months ago or since day one, but if they constantly fight over it and not resolve it, right, it's going to be the reason why they break up in the future.
Yep. So actually I've coined a term for this. So it's basically how when you don't tell your partner things, it's basically a constipation of sorts. So I call it an emotional constipation. And when things come out, then it's an emotional lao sai, and everything just goes everywhere. Shit hits the fan, the room gets dirty, and in the end, people just break up and move on from it because it's just too much to deal with. So I feel that it's good to have your emotional bowels regularly cleaned, regularly cleansed, making sure like you have enough fiber in your emotional diet.
Yeah. I think one good way to do that is like when you're both in a good emotional state, when you're not fighting or angry or frustrated and you're just like happy and normal, then you can kind of talk to your partner and set rules or like how would you like to resolve a problem when both of you are angry? For example, if I'm angry, I want some time alone. So can you please, if you see that I'm angry, like give me some time to think stuff over and then not be angry back at me? And then another person would be like, when I'm angry, I'd rather talk it out with you on the spot than let it drag on for like 2 or 3 days like that. So if you know how you resolve or deal with your anger or your issues, then you can kind of compromise and then set this procedure kind of like when it happens, because when it happens you're so emotional, you can't think properly. So if you have this procedure, then at least you know how to go about it without making it worse.
How about you, Dom? How do you deal
I
with
think
friction?
from what Kai is saying, she's saying that efficient communication is very important in terms of dealing with friction, and I have to agree with that. I feel that it's very important to not in terms of when you have a situation where you are angry, it's not good to have a pressure, because I know some people, they tend to be like, no matter what happens, I want to solve this within the next hour because it's not important and all that. But at the same time, if you think about it, like, it gives the other party a lot of pressure, because like they have the need to understand themselves in that short amount of time. And I guess a lot of times when things like this happen, people don't have enough time to look at things from a clearer perspective, and in the end they'll speak out of emotions, which would obviously trigger more problems, and I don't think that's a good thing.
How about you, Jamin? How do you deal with arguments and fight?
I did the exact opposite when I was in a relationship.
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm not sure now, but last time when I was in a relationship, I am that person who wants to talk about it now, right now. I don't like to sit with the conflict. I don't like to I don't like to sit with it. I don't like to think about it. I just want to talk it out, because for me, my thought process has to be talked out loud. Thinking out loud. Yeah, I like thinking out loud. I don't like to think in my own brain. I like to talk it out. I feel like when I talk about my thought process, it helps me understand myself more. And this is my style of trying to understand myself. So about what you guys said, giving each other time to calm yourselves down and finally talk when you are calmer and when you have less like negative energy built up inside you. I agree with that as well. Maybe, yeah, I think that is something that I should learn from you guys. I think it's really good, and I never thought about it in that way. So yeah, but I do have one thing I like to add on for conflict. So I think one way of how we can reduce all this unnecessary conflict, unwanted conflict, is through focusing on the positives of the relationship and also the person. So obviously you are upset by whatever this person has done or did not do, or the situation right now. So you just have to look on the positive sides of things. You just have to think about all the things that they did right, or think about all the times where they are really supportive and how they are very caring and stuff like that. Just don't focus on all the negative thing that they've done or didn't do, and just try to change the whole scenario, just change the whole vibe, the whole atmosphere. I feel like it helps you feel better and give you a clearer mind.
Yeah, and I also want to add on is that sometimes we can remember that everyone is just doing their best. We're all trying our best in solving whatever issues there are. So if you keep in mind that your partner is also doing their best to try to resolve this, even if you don't agree with their method or anything, but you know that they're trying their best and that they are not doing this to purposely make you angry. So if you keep that in mind, then at least it can kind of calm down your fire a bit and then let you be more forgiving towards them and towards yourself also.
Yeah. Also, to add on on top of that point, is that when you all face a problem, do not fight with each other. It's not about each other. It's not about like me against you. It's not about winning the conversation or the argument, but it's more of like us against the problem. So if you have an issue, try to verbalize your emotions. It's okay to say that I don't understand how I'm feeling now. give me some time to work it out so
Mm-hmm.
that I know who I am inside. And then stepping away from the situation and then going back to it. It's very important in cases like this. And I admit I used to do this a lot back then, where I always ask my partner, I give them pressure, like, tell me what you're feeling. What's happening? Something is wrong. I know something is wrong.
I
Let me
used
know
to
what
do
you're
that.
feeling.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But like,
Guilty.
yeah, exactly. But for me, it's like after my breakup, and I look back and I realize that sometimes people have a tough time verbalizing their emotions.
Mhm.
They just don't know how to feel. And I think
Mhm.
for people like that, a very good way of improving themselves is just say you don't know. It's okay. It's like your partner, like they're gonna understand. If you
Yeah.
don't know, just say that you don't. You don't have to be sure about things at times,
Yeah.
and that's very important.
Yeah, and also to add on to that, I'm the kind of person who, when I'm very emotional, right, I cannot, I just want to be alone. So I realized that one thing that I can improve on is that when I want to be alone or I'm not in the mood, I should verbalize this to my loved ones. Like tell them if I snap at you or I'm frustrated at you, it's not about you, it's about me going through all this stress and stuff like that. So, and then please give me some time. Like I realize I don't verbalize this, so when I'm stressed, I kind of like everything is in my head and I'm like so stressed already, and then someone like trigger me and I can just like snap at them, and I realize that it's not their fault. And I didn't verbalize to them that I'm stressed.
Yeah. I really like that, verbalizing it. I feel that a lot of us are guilty for this. Like what you said, when we are frustrated, when we are distressed, we don't verbalize it. We feel it all in ourselves. We keep thinking about it, but we don't tell the other person what we're feeling. So when they do something or say something, right, you snap at them like, oh my god, I'm so stressed right now. Why are you still like doing this to me? But the thing is, you didn't tell them. If you didn't tell them, how are they supposed to know?
Yeah, a lot of times like we expect our loved ones to know us that well to the point where they are mind readers. And like, we're not, we're human. Like it's very important to keep that in mind, that it's, if you're stressed, you just tell them, hey, I'm stressed, can you maybe turn down the volume a bit? And this is like, I would like to say it as like watching yourself, like keeping yourself accountable. Like when you tell people, hey, you shouldn't be angry, you shouldn't lash out on other people like that, you have to watch your words and look at yourself. When you're angry, how do you hold back those emotions and not let it affect others? So that's very important, of like controlling your emotions and not letting your emotions control you.
Yeah. Oh my god, we just talked about this in our Instagram post yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
You guys can check it out.
Check it out. We are gonna put a screenshot here somewhere. But yeah, oh my god, I have something to add on from that. Keeping yourself accountable. I think Kai and I talked about this before when we went out once, which is getting to the level that you're expecting your partner to be at. If you guys get what I mean, like if you expect your partner to be this amazing person who's very patient, very hardworking and always supportive, very caring, but you have to first ask yourself, are you like this? Okay, I'm not sure whether this is triggering anyone right now. I'm so sorry, but this is just maybe like a new perspective for you, a new way to think about it. When you expect your partner to be this, are you like this? Yeah, I feel like sometimes we just have to keep ourselves accountable. Are you doing whatever you are expecting from a good partner?
Yeah, I really like that. I agree.
Other than that, I'd like to add on, like a lot of times we, especially when we're in a relationship, we'll say things like, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like eventually those 3 words get taken out of context and they don't really have meaning. So instead of just saying I love you, why not take your time to sit down and be grateful of what your partner has done for that day. Like maybe it could be something as simple as, thank you for bringing me a glass of water when I need it, or it can be like, thank you for waking me up in the morning. Like it conveys so much meaning and so much more appreciation than I love you, because I mean, when you repeat things lose their meaning. Yeah, so it'll be better for people to just show their gratitude, and this doesn't necessarily have to be among your partners. You can say it to your friends. Just say like, hey, I appreciate your attention when I was talking to you today. I really appreciate it because I don't really get a lot of people listening to me. Or you can just be grateful about your partner being alive. You can just say like, hey, I'd like to thank your family. I'd like to thank your parents for bringing you up to be the person who you are. I'd like to thank you for being alive, for being there for me when I have my troubles. And sometimes not doing things, it's already good enough for me. It's very important to say out the things that you feel towards people and not just, keep them inside. And eventually when like, touch wood, if anything happens to them and you'll be like, oh, I regret so much not telling this person I love them. So I think that's a very short and simple exercise everyone can do.
Yeah.
And another idea I want to add on is like I saw this idea somewhere where they say that whenever you're grateful for something that your partner did, write it down either in your journal or like write on a piece of paper and put in a jar or something like that. And then when things are not going great and you're in a fight or something, open back that page of all the list of all the things that you're grateful for them, and then you can kind of just be grateful that they're
remind yourself of the good times as well, instead of focusing on the bad ones. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So now should we move on to reducing friction?
Yes.
What do you think is a very important thing that people have in terms of reducing friction when you're in a relationship?
I think like what I said earlier, focusing on the good, reminding yourself on the good, not just focusing on the bad. Yeah.
Kai, what about you?
Actually, that was my answer. Like, be open and
Transparent.
in your communication, transparent, and then like reflect upon yourself and on each other. And if you know that you're in the wrong, don't be afraid to apologize and let your partner know that you own up to your mistake. And
Okay, so to add on to your point, I feel that it's very good that you self-reflect and that it's very good for you to sit down and know your partner. But perhaps another thing to think of is like, okay, if you need a mental imagery, think about it. Anger and like this friction between your relationship is like a fire. So when there's a friction, eventually, if you keep on adding on fuel to it, and if you don't sort it out, if you don't get rid of it, it will eventually become a fire. And when the fire is on, then you'll start having things like couples fighting, couples quarreling on a daily basis, and that gets very emotionally draining. So you as a partner, you have to look at yourself and just try your best to not say things that will add on to a fire, and also control the spread of a fire. Eventually the fire will die down, and it will be best if you can work out what's the underlying problem of the issue. Because a lot of times when couples argue, right, it's not about the underlying issue. So perhaps like, oh, that one time you forgot your partner's birthday. To some people, it's a very important thing. To some, it's not. But maybe to your partner, it is. And then let's say you all keep on fighting about it, but it's about minor issues. It's like, oh, you see that day you never brush teeth. That's not the reason why you all fight, right? The reason is you forgot my birthday. But then again, if you're on the receiving end of this, like for example, if you're the one who's unsatisfied that your partner forgot about birthday, think about what can your partner do to make it better. Don't just think about like, oh, you always forgot my birthday. You see, you forgot my birthday last year, you're gonna forget it this year, you're gonna forget it next year. That's not good. Like, you should just verbalize and just say that, hey, it would be nice if you remember my birthday this year. And then if you're a good partner, you obviously take cues and you always understand that, oh, okay, yeah, this year I'll make things different. I think another thing is you shouldn't jump to conclusions. Like, just because I forgot your birthday last year doesn't mean I'll forget it this year, the next year. That's very important. Like, always give your partner a way to solve the problem. Don't make it like a thing of a past where you cannot solve. And if it's something in the past, you should eventually learn to let go of it and focus on the present instead. Because if we plan too much for the future and if we focus too much on the past, then we forget who we truly are as of now.
Yeah.
Wow, Dom. Okay, so back to ending this entire video. I just have one last thing to say to wrap it all up. So we've been talking about relationships. We've also touched on self-awareness, knowing yourself, and being aware of what you like or don't like, and verbalizing it to your partner. So one more thing I like to say is to be selfishly selfless. To be selfless, we must first be selfish. So what does that mean? Which is to take care of yourself, to love yourself, to accept yourself wholly, or just try, you know? I mean, it's not a destination to be arrived at. It's a process, it's a journey that all of us have to go through. It's something that we practice every single day. So yeah, just take good care of yourself, love yourself first before you commit yourself to a relationship, and also it helps to love that someone else better.
Oh, also add on to Javin's point, I think
Yeah.
it's very important to love yourself in a sense where you know your own love languages, and if you're able to convey that to your partner, like that would be the best. And also sometimes even if your partner doesn't know their own love languages, how they show you their love, you can capture a sense. So if you all want to know more about love languages, you can go Google that up. So basically everyone
Or
has
you can check out our post.
we will also put a screenshot here somewhere. Check out our post. We've covered every single one of the love languages.
So sometimes the giving love language of someone is different to their receiving love language, and it's very important to
I
know.
feel that
So
I feel that the love language that they show you is also their love language. Like let's say I always praise you, like, Tom, you look so cute today. You did such an amazing job, blah blah blah. So you naturally I think you can pick up that my love language is through verbal
Words of
appreciation. Yeah, words of appreciation. So yes, and that's the end of our episode today. Will there be more? You just have to stay tuned, follow us, subscribe to our channel to find out.
Thank you everybody for tuning in.
Yay!
Thank you so much. And thank you, Dom, for doing this with us.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Bye. See you guys in the next episode.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Hi guys. I am Min.
Wait, sorry. I got a call just now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's good.
Do you want to call back? You're taking away my job. No.
No. You still keep your job.
You're so good at this. You should start your own.
You should start your own podcast. Yeah. Okay.